Steven Greer is the Martin Luther of ufology. Let me explain. Get in here, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and please hit the notification button to be notified of all future videos. Join me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, links are below. I would love to see you guys there. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, now I am not a huge fan of Steven Greer. In fact, I have said a lot of things against Steven Greer because I think he has sown division throughout the UFO community completely unnecessarily because of his unbridled ego, and he has also spread some disinformation among the UFO community as well, which I really resent, such as that there are no alien abductions. That's his narrative, right? It's all the military, there are no alien abductions, which is clearly untrue. If you've studied the abduction phenomenon at all, there are clearly many non-human abductions. It's a very common thing, unfortunately, and very possibly an intrinsic part of why they are here. So all of that said, why am I saying anything good about Steven Greer? Well, because, first of all, he has been an asset to the UFO community in times past. And he has done a lot of good before this current age of semi-disclosure that we're living through. That was, sparked by Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and TTSA and those guys, who are now enemies, especially Lou, of Steven Greer, because Steven Greer just can't stand anybody else having the spotlight. But let me get to the good stuff and the positive stuff. And the reason for this video. Who was Martin Luther? Well, he was the guy that broke away from the Catholic Church and formed the Protestant faith, if you will. And, in the Catholic Church, the church required people to, and requires people to go through the priests. The priests, the people have to go through intermediaries to interface with God, or in this analog, the phenomenon. That's how we have always existed in our present situation in America and so on, involving the phenomenon, is that we have had to go through an intermediary, the United States government, to get information about UFOs and validation for the reality of the phenomenon. And even, there's all the ideas about the UFOs sitting down on the White House lawn and the beings coming out and interacting with them. And that's how disclosure would happen, and that's how our relationship with the phenomenon would evolve. It was through the government, through the highest levels of the government. Well, Steven Greer changed all of that. How did he change all of that? Through CE5, that is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. In other words, human-initiated contact. He wasn't the first person that invented the idea of contacting the beings directly. Of course not. But he is the one that popularized CE5 as a thing unto its own that could be practiced. I mean, heck, he developed the app for it. I mean, I think he even may have coined the term CE5. But what CE5 does is it takes our relationship with the phenomenon out of the hands of the government and puts it in the hands of the people and of individuals directly. Now we have a proven method for interacting directly with the phenomenon. And there are many people who have done it successfully. I have as well, in a group of CE5 participants. I've engaged in this twice at UFO Skywatches organized by my local MUFON group, of which I am a co-founder. And we had some amazing success with CE5. We didn't use Steven Greer's protocols exactly. We changed it up a little bit. And we actually invited my Reiki instructor to kick it off for us because she has had regular experiences with beings, if you will, not necessarily aliens exactly, or, it depends on what you want to define alien as. If you're just saying non-human entity, then yes. And so we invited her to do this. She has, abilities and a connection that I don't have, or, I'm not aware of. I don't want to say I don't have, because we want to use positive terminology or positive thoughts not reinforcing negative thoughts, but nevertheless, she kicked it off and it was a big success. Now, it wasn't like Nuts and Bolts Craft showed up and made a big display for us, although that does happen for some. What we had was more metaphysical. People were having these metaphysical interactions. The first Skywatch, I didn't experience anything at all, but people around me were having these crazy experiences. Their eyes were closed and we were meditating, and there were beings present that were interacting with them in a very positive way. And it was really cool, and they were kind of like half out of their body interacting with these beings. And some people were seeing lights in the sky later on when we opened our eyes. And the interesting thing was that they all corroborated each other's story when they were telling me these stories to me separately from each other. They hadn't heard each other's stories. They were just coming and telling me their stories. And they all saw the same thing or parts of the same thing. The same colors, the same types of beings, the same sorts of interactions. So, and there were like 6 of them that were able to experience this out of about 20 of us. And maybe there were more. I didn't interview them all. But it was a big success. And again, that's through CE5, not necessarily Steven Greer's protocols, but something approaching his protocols. And, it was awesome. It was, some people had some really profound experiences. And in the second Skywatch, the experiences weren't as profound, but it worked again, and some beings showed up and were interacting with people. It didn't seem to be as spiritual as the first time. There was a different group of beings that showed up. But it was a success in the sense that we were able to call upon and interact with the phenomenon directly. And I think that's the way forward. I think that's the way that humanity is going to evolve its relationship with the phenomenon, is by this direct interaction, a la the Protestant method, where people can communicate with God directly by themselves. You don't need a priest. You can just pray to God, and you'll have this connection according to the Protestant faith. Everybody has their own divine connection to God according to Protestants. You don't need to go through a priest to communicate. And I think that is the model that we need to follow, the Protestant model, not the Catholic model in this analog, not having to rely upon the government. The government seems to have its own relationship with the phenomenon. They are interacting with the phenomenon behind closed doors, doing things that we may or may not approve of. They have not told us their reasons for silence. They won't even admit to being silent on this issue for many decades, and potentially violently suppressing people that want to talk about some of the stuff or disclose some of the stuff. So, they've done some shady stuff. We don't know their reasons. There are many, many people that have come forward, possibly at risk to themselves, talking about how beings have directly interacted with military and government officials, and it seems to be an ongoing situation where we are working with some beings and we are working against other beings. There are so many reports of us firing at UFOs, and as unlikely as it sounds, even bringing some of them down. Now, the government could have a good reason for all of this. You would hope that if they're dealing with the phenomenon directly, that they might know more than we do. And it's very possible that they do, and that they have picked the side of the angels, if you will. But it's also possible that they've picked the wrong side and they've allied with some beings that they shouldn't have allied with, and they're firing at other beings that they shouldn't be firing at. But we don't know because they won't tell us, and who knows? Maybe that's why. But at the very least, we can't trust the government to do the right thing on this. They have, the government's pretty shady. Let's be honest. They've done some sketchy things, and are still doing some sketchy things. So I tend not to trust the government, and especially on anything involving UFOs. And I think that the Catholic model of relying on the government to be our intermediary with the phenomenon is deeply flawed, and it may not get us anywhere. It may not evolve humanity's relationship with the phenomenon. And that is what I would like to see happen. And I know many others as well. Okay, they're there, but now what? Right? I mean, yeah, sure, I don't need any more evidence that they're there. They're there. I've seen a UFO myself. They are there. But what are they? Why are they here? Is there a way that we can interact with them to our mutual benefit? Are they here to help us evolve in some way, or can we use their presence to evolve ourselves? And even help them in some way? That could be why they're here. So just some thoughts about why we should interact with the phenomenon, and possibly all of this could be to our benefit in evolving ourselves as a species, our knowledge, our understanding, our, who knows, everything. Even metaphysical stuff. Yeah, that's what a lot of people think, is that this is all leading toward the ascension of humanity into the fifth dimension. And, that very well could be the case. And there's different modalities of that. Some people call it the fourth density, or, there's all sorts of, the rapture. There's all sorts of modalities for that general idea. I don't know if all that is true or not, but there are so many modalities of that. I have to wonder if there is some reason behind that. In any case, the UFOs are here, so what are we going to do about it? I propose, trying to interact with them peacefully and positively, but very safely. I don't know how safe CE5 is, just going out blundering and interacting with whoever the heck shows up. That's why I would recommend having somebody like my Reiki instructor, or if you have a friend or a friend of a friend that can interact with non-corporeal entities, or whatever, however you want to call it or phrase it, interact with energies, because this does get very woo-woo and very metaphysical very quickly. And both of our sky watches, there were non-visible entities there interacting with us. So were those flesh and blood entities? Were there nuts and bolts craft in the picture? I don't know. But it's definitely a little bit woo-woo, right? So it's nice to have somebody that can deal with the woo-woo present and guiding you through the CE5. So, I think that CE5 is the way forward. The Protestant model is the way forward. Our direct individual interaction, positive interaction with the phenomenon, hopefully helping to evolve both sides, right? And but do it safely with somebody who has some connection and abilities and sensitivities. My Reiki instructor, when she kicked off the CE5 and made the connection, she invited only the beings of the highest vibration down. And so that's what I would hope happens for anybody that does try this process, because I have heard some negative experiences that people have had. And I don't want anybody to have those experiences. So try to do it as safely as possible. Don't do it fearfully. If you go into it fearfully, it may not go well, because we seem to co-create a lot of these experiences. So go into it with positivity and love, but also, with foresight, and, do your best to make it a positive experience for yourself. But I think if enough people are able to do this and make positive, relationships form between ourselves and the phenomenon, that things could start to change. We could start to see some real progress, some grassroots progress, in evolving our relationship with the phenomenon. And I think that'd be amazing. And we owe a lot of that potential to Steven Greer. As much as I have my issues with him, I think that is a big gift that he has given us, popularizing this process and this method and this idea. So hats off to you, Steven Greer, Dr. Steven Greer. I salute you for that. I hope that you can evolve yourself and learn to heal the rift between you and Lou, and stop spreading disinformation and disingenuousness. There's abductions. There's alien abductions. Okay, but thank you, Steven, for doing what you have. I do appreciate it. And that's all I had to say, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. And let me know what you think about all this craziness in the comments below. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. See you next time. This is Jack out.